Join us as we uncover the secrets to scaling your business and living a balanced life with Richard Walsh, a master tactician and best-selling author. So welcome to Mindset Mavericks, where we explore the minds of extraordinary individuals who push boundaries and defy the odds. I'm your host, John Coogan, and today we've got a remarkable guest whose journey is awe-inspiring. Our guest today is Richard Walsh, CEO of Sharpen Spear Coaching. He's not just a 30-year seasoned entrepreneur and a best-selling author of Escape the Owner Prison. Sorry, that'll be gone. But that's just scratching the surface. Richard's a man of many talents. He's a dedicated husband and father of 6, a US Marine, a champion boxer, a black belt in Taekwondo, and an internationally recognized steel sculptor. So his expertise lies in blending strategic foresight and tactical execution, delivering both immediate problem-solving results and long-term scalability. With over 3 decades of business experience, Richard has mastered the art of time compression, sharing secrets and strategies to drive rapid and lasting success. Today, we'll delve into his incredible journey, his insights on business and on life, and the philosophies that propelled him to the top. So with that, let's get started. Welcome very much, and thank you for being with us.
Well, thank you, John. I'm excited to be here.
Thank you. And just kind of touched on it where you've got such a diverse and accomplished background. I wanted to share with the audience a little bit about your early life and what drove you to pursue such varied interests, from military to boxing and entrepreneurship. So can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, let's go. We'll go back. So childhood was interesting. Okay, that's my term, interesting. We moved a lot. There was a lot of relocating, a lot. Okay, a lot is a lot. And probably 30 times before I got out of high school.
Wow.
So that was what I tell people is I don't have attachment issues. I have like no attachment issues. Like I don't attach to anything, so it's kind of a challenge, but you learn to kind of really adapt every time you go. So it's like every school I went to, I'd get one friend. I would find the one guy who kind of clicked with me, and that's it. And I never really had like the group of friends. I was never the super popular kid. Not that I was kind of a clown, really. I got in trouble a sufficient amount of times, thrown out of classes, things like that, so I had done that to adapt. But that was just kind of who I was. I really didn't like school. Like I wanted to be there because I didn't want to be at home. So I never missed a day. So it's some weird thing that like work with my punctuality obsession now and being on time and wearing a watch because I value time. And it's a whole thing. So I look back like, well, it kind of worked in my favor. But got through it all, went to 3 different high schools, almost 4. Again, didn't do super well. And it's kind of funny with what I did the rest of my life. When people ask me like, were you really smart? I didn't go to college. No, I went in the Marine Corps. I did try. I was kind of in line to go to college, like the literal line, with my check and my little schedule. And I'm moving up towards the little check-in thing. And I'm looking around, John. I'm like, yeah, this isn't happening. And I tore it up. I threw it in the garbage. And like, I went and joined the Marine Corps. I'm like, I'm not a school guy. It just, I couldn't learn that way. And I graduated, literally, I told people I had a 1.7 grade point average coming out of high school. So I'm no genius, but I took the ASVAB, which is basically an aptitude test for the Marine Corps. I scored super high. I could do anything I wanted. I was like, well, that's weird because I'm not really a good test taker. But that kind of started the journey. I got out of the Marine Corps, started working. I actually threw a pickaxe, digging trench in Tucson, Arizona for $5 an hour, just all day I threw I was like a chain gang, it was a strange job, but we weren't allowed to use machines. We dug. So that wasn't very, didn't see a lot of future in that, but a guy gave me a side gig once. He said, hey, can you help me with this? He's got granite. It's like crushed granite, 3/4 inch granite. And there they use that instead of grass in Arizona. So I had to move it from the street to the backyard. He had about 35 tons worth. I said, I can do that. So I showed up. I used my last $85 before payday to buy a wheelbarrow and a shovel. Showed up, shoveled all this stuff. Took about 10 hours. He got it done. It's like 100 degrees out. It's perfect. But here's the best part, John. The guy came out and he put $1,000 in my hand. Okay. Now I'm working for $5 an hour. The day before, I made less than $50 for the day. Okay. So I looked at that and went, I think I've discovered my future. I am going to work for myself. Right. I can do this all day, every day. Yeah, it sure is. So, but it was really eye-opening for me, John, because I realized like, wait a minute, you can as the saying goes, you can sign the back of the check or you can sign the front of the check. If you sign the front of the check, you're going to make a lot more money. Okay. So I decided I'm going to be that guy, and started a landscape business, custom water feature business, started building that up, scaling that, became really good at what I did, kind of number one, won a lot of awards, publications, and committees. I did a lot of stuff with that, scaled it up. And then at that same time, I'm like, well, I kind of like this steel sculpture thing. I just saw something and I'm like, well, I want to do that. So I taught myself, started getting the equipment I need and started doing that. The next thing you know, I'm doing like commissions for the Shed Aquarium in Chicago. I'm doing world-class exhibits and doing this stuff for people, So I tell people I am very blessed because I never went through the starving artist phase. People paid for everything I made. So
Yeah.
that was really good. Yeah. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, it's quite interesting. You've clearly got a lot of drive to push yourself and do things which are a little bit different or might take a lot of confidence. And I can see where you'd get that with moving around so much and not really having those ties. So is that where that drive has come from? Has it come from parents as well? Or where do you think that desire to just force yourself to push your boundaries has come from?
I don't want to say I get bored easy because I don't, but that need for new, I like to innovate. I like to do new things. And what was really strange, John, is it always correlated with what my main thing was. Like I did sculpture because I could do sculptures in my water features. So I made them all functional. Giant walk under waterfalls, out of steel, cantilever stuff. And I did just these beautiful things are coming out, all natural and trees. And I was like, well, and then I sold them. I'm like, so I kept innovating, but it was things that were related. So for me, it worked out really well. Again, that's why I wasn't just a guy painting and making neat pictures and keeping them in the attic, So, but the drive, I think, what I learned, not that I didn't know this, but I learned this recently, actually on a podcast, and talking about what drives me, and it's not money. So I'm like, money doesn't drive me. It's like it never interested me. I mean, I make lots of it, right? But it was my driving force. Some people are driven by that, right? That's just, and probably to my detriment. Well, it definitely was to my detriment. It wasn't I didn't care. I just made a lot. It was just a tool. It was like find another shovel to me. I just made me more money. But I'll say what it was I really just wanted to be told I'm awesome.
Yeah.
I did great work. I do beautiful work. And that's what drove me. Because the interesting thing, John, was every customer, I built over 1,000 water features, right? Big, little, all different sizes. No one ever came out and felt or said they overpaid. Everyone said you don't charge enough on all of them. And I was like, wow. And I was charging some money. I was not undercharging.
Yeah.
But just delivering huge value. But I really was those words of affirmation, if you will. That's what really drove me to the next cool thing, And so I think that's really where it's at.
It's always, as you say, fascinating to look back, and I've done it with my own life. You look back at certain things happen, whether it's in childhood or as teenage years, and you realize later on in life what it is that's driven you to look for something else, given you the traits that you've got. And it makes you wonder, just because you said about really it's getting validation from people. Yeah. Do you know why you wanted to get that? Is it something that you didn't get necessarily growing up, do you think? Or
yeah, so I'm a middle child. I got an older and younger brother. So, middle children kind of get ignored, if you will. I'm air quoting ignored. And here's the worst part. My older and younger brother were born on the same day, 3 years apart.
Right. Yeah.
So they got all kinds of attention, right? They got the birthday parties, they got all the cool stuff. So I, luckily I had a grandmother who never forgot my birthday and would send me that card and $5 every year. So she was the one who never forgot. But I really think it was that my father had a really great work ethic. I love what he did. We're in the golf business and stuff. So he built and ran golf courses and things. And I really got a work ethic from him. And I started working very early. I'd go with him. We lived on the golf course at one point. I'd be up at 4 a.m. and I'd go work. And I work with his guys, and these guys all worked hard. And it was a really great influence for me. But I think even young, if you're working for older people, so I was never around kids my age.
Yeah.
It's really right. So you're looking for affirmation from them. Like I have to do good. I'm with these guys. Like I need to do as good a work as they do. So they taught me right. So I think that might have been part of it too, just to think about it. And
Yeah.
I think we all want to be validated in some way, right? In what we do.
Yeah.
I talk about that in my book, is about even employees and people in your team. They need recognition. If you don't give them recognition, they're not staying. They need quality feedback. They need recognition, right? You've got to, and I wasn't super good at that early on. I had the Marine Corps. So remember, the Marine Corps, it's based on negative reinforcement, right? Which a very small percentage of us, meaning me, I thrive on that. The more you tell me, like, I'm not this, not that, you can't do, it's like the more I harder I go, right? So that inspires me. Other people, it breaks them down. They're worthless, right?
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's really interesting. I was going to ask, obviously, about your Marine background and how that's influenced your journey in business, really, and being an entrepreneur. Is there things that you've taken away from your experience in the Marines that's influenced how you approach things?
Yeah, quite a bit actually. And again, another good thing about the Marine Corps, it doesn't turn you into something. It brings out what you have, what's inside you. So it really is. It's not like this magic thing that you spend 3 months and all of a sudden you're a completely different person. It really enhances what's already inside you, but they're able to pull that out, right? Because a lot of guys don't make it. A lot of guys don't make it, but the ones who do, it's because of what's inside them, right? So if they actually changed you, everyone would make it. Everyone would get through.
Yeah.
So that's a little different, but it also became about really mission accomplishment. Like, we achieved the objective no matter what. Right. So you always had to adapt. You always had to figure it out. It was never the way you thought it was going to be. As I say, no battle plan ever survives the first shot. Right. So you know that going in. And I think that ability to accomplish it kind of all costs or whatever it takes, I definitely brought that into business, which was good and bad. There was kind of a couple of different facets of that attitude.
Yeah, I think one of the things I'm very keen on talking about is about resilience, and it is that ability to, as you say, things never go to plan. There's always hiccups or getting knocked down, and it's that ability to have those setbacks and pivot and just know you're going to get to your goal. So yeah, I think that's definitely a really good lesson you've taken away from the Marines. One of the things you did sorry, go.
No, so you're absolutely right. I mean, resilience is huge, and and I didn't understand that then. You don't think I'm a resilient guy. I mean, no one's categorizing themselves as Mr. Resilience, right? When you're 17 years old, 18 year olds, you look back and go, wow, I put up with a lot, and achieved stuff.
Yeah. So. And you just touched on your book as well then. So you've obviously got your best-selling book, Escape the Owner Prison. Can you tell me a little bit about what that is and what inspired you to write the book?
Yeah. So back in 2019, so I, in 08, everything collapsed, right? I lost everything. We could talk about that too, but that was a big deal. 20 years in business. I lost everything. I had my 6 kids, my wife, lost my home. I had to start over again. And I did. And again, that's a long story, but scaled some new businesses and everything else but fixed everything, fixed all the mistakes I made in the beginning, that first 20 years, so I could have a life. So I started working with other businesses who were asking me how I did it. I'm like, oh, well, I just do this. And what are you doing? What's your problem? Oh, we'll do this. And I started really getting good at coaching. So I mentor first and I started coaching. So I'm like, well, I think I'll write a book because I'm seeing all these patterns. They're all suffering from the same thing, And so I started writing this book. So I knocked it out pretty fast because it's kind of in me. I wrote it. The hardest thing I did was come up with a title. Okay. If you've ever written, so I had 27 working titles. And Escape the Owner Prison is number 28.
Wow.
I came up with that one day, and I asked a friend, we were at a track meet where our kids were in. He's a business owner and everything too. I said, what do you think about Escape the Owner Prison? And he just looks at me and goes, that resonates. That's good. I said, done. That's what it is, And then, but I wanted to write it so that people understand where they're at in business and why they're stuck. Why they can't leave their business for any real amount of time. They can go for a week or two, maybe on vacation, but they're going to call in every other day, make sure the place hasn't burned down, right? Because they haven't built So I started going through basics, foundational stuff, levels, 0 to $1 million, 1 million to 5, 5 to 10, what that looks like, what you need to do on that. And it is really it is an inspired book. Like I said, I did it very quickly. I had a great editor who did good stuff, and rolled it out, became a bestseller. And I'm like, wow, I built an academy around that. So I had the ETOP Academy. I started coaching people. They come in that, and we graduated into Sharpen the Spear and some other stuff. But the book itself is really a guidebook for business, whether you're just starting or you're 5 years in. It doesn't matter wherever you're at. You can really get a lot of takeaways from this book, and I love it. I'm working on the second one now, but that one was really foundational. You know how it is? 82% of all people want to write a book.
Yeah,
2% actually do. So I'm a doer. John. I get things done. So
yeah.
I want to check that off the list.
Can attest that. I've been one of those people who's talked about it for a number of years, and I started writing my book this year, so it's due to be released in December. So yeah, I can definitely, if that resonates, the whole concept of what's the right title, and that there's so much that goes into writing it. It's not just getting your thoughts down on paper, the organization, right, the structure. Is there a key kind of principle you can share from your book that you'd be able to share with the audience today?
There's a lot. There's a lot from that. I think to go back to the resilience standpoint, right? There's a book called Grit, Angela Duckworth. Have you ever read it? So
I know it, yeah.
Right. So I'm a 97% on the grit scale. Okay. You take these tests. So I'm coming out there. Pardon me. So the thing is, that's what you need to succeed in business. And she shows that through research and everything else. Like, it's not smarts, it's not money, it's the ability to stay in the fight. It's so important. We talked about this a little earlier, right? You're always going to run into hurdles. You're going to run into setbacks, all of this. I mean, you just keep going, right? You just have to push through and believe in yourself, but you got to stay in the fight. I tell people, if you can take a breath, you're in the fight. Like, you have to understand that. And I think the book kind of shows that, because I weave my whole story inside that too. So you kind of see where I was, how I went through it, how all this, culminated into collapse, total failure, how you turn it around, what I did wrong. But it's all and I didn't do the same thing that I collapsed, right? That I lost. I wouldn't do any of that. I sold everything. I'm like 100% out. I'll never do that again, because of what it became my identity, right? And I didn't want to live as my business. So that was a big part of what I changed. So that's what's the interesting thing about the book. It's like basically going from, you have experience, but now you have to do something completely different, which I guess ties into all the other weird stuff I do. It's just something I can do, right?
Yeah, I think one of the challenges as well we talk about in business is definitely getting a balance, or if it even a balance with home life and business life, and being able to switch off and leave your business behind. I'd imagine, particularly with 6 children as well, that's even more difficult than it is for most. How do you manage to balance life and work?
So here's what I figured out, and here's what I help people with now too. So everyone will come up and tell you need work-life balance. And I always joke, I go, the great cliche, and they trot off, they tell you that, and they trot off, and they can't give you a clue one to begin to get that. They have no idea. They just think it sounds cool. It's like, I don't date night with your wife. Like, you need to have date night. Yeah, that fixes it, huh? Okay, I'm about doing, right. I'm about a results guy. Yeah. So like telling me like a catchy little thing doesn't do anything. So what I realized was, I wanted the balance, because business was first for me. It was everything, right? And I realized in 2009, as things are kind of collapsing around me, I had these 6 small children, 4 and under. I go, you know what? They don't care what I do for a business. They don't care what I drive. They don't care what kind of house we live in. They don't care how many trucks I have. All they cared was I came home, and they loved to see me. And my one son would chase me down the driveway crying as I'm pulling away in my truck. And of course I just kept going because I had to go to work. Right. So I realized, if I stay on this course, John, I'm going to ruin my children's future. They're going to have broken marriages, failed relationships. They might do well in business, because the actuality is more is caught than taught with kids. I can tell them all the right things. They're only going to do what they see me do. All the wisdom I can spout doesn't mean anything if I don't apply it in my own life. Going through, I need to live that example. So I walked into office that day and closed everything down. We're going to collapse anyways. I'm going to do this right now. I'm not doing this anymore. That was a big epiphany for me. So now we talk about work-life balance. So now I got to rebuild the business, something new, and keep that. Now, if you're in business and it's owning you and you're 5 years in, you're not getting that time, you start to have kids now and things like that. Here's what I have to tell people, because everyone again talks about work-life balance, and it's called the 5 F's, right? It's faith, family, finances, fitness, and friendships. That's how you're going to create balance. You got to get all those things dialed in. But here's the problem when you're a business owner. You can't do any of that until your business is squared away. If your business is a hot mess, forget about those 5. They're not going to happen. You're all you're going to do is fail, because you can't have this thing that obsesses you because it's broken, right? It needs you every day. It's not systemized. It's not running on its own. You don't have the right people in place. You can't leave for a month, come back, and everybody's happy. You can't do that. So first thing you have to do is fix your business, because you also got to make income, right? You don't abandon the business to go get work-life balance. You're not going to go work for someone, because if you are truly an entrepreneur, you're kind of unemployable. You're not really going to work for yourself. So I want to fix that first. So understand once you get that fixed, now we go to the 5 F's, right? Now we can talk about faith. We can talk about family. We can talk about your finances. We can talk about fitness and health, right? You got to be healthy. You have to be fit. You're leading people. We have a saying called, if you're not fit, you're not fit to lead. Okay. We want you to, and I don't mean you got to be Mr. Universe. I'm just talking like you're health minded, right? And then of course, friendships, now friendships for me, it's a pretty small circle, like really tight. My joke with my kids are, because they always make fun, I don't have a lot of friends. They go, listen, I could lose 3 fingers on this hand. My friends could still fit on the same hand. Okay. And that's okay. I'm okay with that. I have other circles. I know people and acquaintances and networks and all that stuff's good, but trench buddies, the guys who have my 6 all the time, those guys are far and few between. Right. And to me, that works. Because again, that's kind of how I grew up and stuff anyway. So that works for me. So I think that's where the work-life balance comes in, John, really.
Yeah, I did touch on business collapsing then. Is that really where you started to change your mindset around work and life balance? Is that what triggered that in you? Or?
Yeah, I really thought, again, we know that I'm Mr. Affirmation, right? I needed that, right? So success in business, you never saw me without the work shirt on, the hat, the truck is all wrapped, everything. Is who I am. So it was a complete identity. Like if Rick Rock, that was in my business, if that wasn't there, I don't exist. So I got into that in 20 years of building that, and I'm the award. It's all about me. It was all about me. It's my awards, my publications, my exhibits, all this stuff that I built was all about me. It was just constant chasing after that affirmation. So when the collapse came, now, the economy's crashed around the world, right? But that wasn't why I crashed. That's not why I lost my business. I'm very straight, honest, transparent about this. It's because of the things I didn't do in my business. I mean, because if a financial collapse ruined everyone's businesses, there'd be no businesses. Right? Plenty of people weathered those storms. I ignored the things that need to be done from a business standpoint. I mean, I was playing the artist. I'm out building great things. I'm making great money. I'm doing whatever I want. I'm on stage. I'm doing all this stuff, but I wasn't taking care of the house. Right? Same with my family. My wife has 6 kids. She's raising, and at that time they're still little, but we were planning on homeschooling them the whole time. We had all these great plans and we want to do all this. And she's just unbelievable. She's not afraid to take all 6 kids, 4 to like the Botanic Garden and pull them around in wagons and do this whole thing and just out and travel. And I'm like, whoa, I'm just trying to run a business. I'm like, that's way harder than what I'm doing. So that, but that collapse, like I said, when I had that epiphany, I woke up and realized that was the turning point. That's what changed my entire attitude on what business is. I sold everything. I burned all my uniforms. I have video, like burn them in bonfire. I'm like, I'm never going back. This is never going to own me ever again. I'm never getting trapped like this again. So whatever I do, I had no idea what I was going to do. I just knew I was going to do that. And I sold every piece of equipment, every welder. I'm like, I haven't touched it since. It's been 15 years now. And I don't make any, I don't do any sculpture. I don't do any water feature. I don't do any of that stuff. I'm on to completely different things now. I open a gym. I had a contracting business from a guy, and now I coach and I do all that. But people are like, why don't you go back to that? I go, because I did it. I did it all. I know what it was. Like Mike Tyson, right? He says, boxing made me kind of angry. it's like when I get into it, it really changed me as a person. He goes, it's kind of like, I don't really want to do that anymore because of what I was, right? So you can see the similarities. Not that I'm Mike Tyson, but I do hit pretty hard.
You just touched on some of the obstacles and things you faced. So what was it that you did differently when you did start again? You said you had your business collapse. You essentially started from scratch, redressed your life and work balance. What things did you do differently to make sure it was a success and that it was more positive going forward?
Yeah. So first you have to figure out what you want to do. Like that's all. You don't just snap your fingers and a business appears. So I'm like, I really love training people. I love working out, right? Boxing, everything else. I'm going to go to training. So I started this Anytime Fitness, it's a big national thing. And I started being a trainer. I said, that's what I'm going to do right now. So I started training people and I built a whole kind of personal training business there. Right. So the next thing you know, I'm trainer of the year. Okay. So I'm trainer of the year. I'm like, oh, well, you know what that means to an entrepreneur, right? Time to open the gym. Okay. I got to do my own thing. So I did that. Boot camp style training. I got all that going. But my key in that, John, was to go, okay, here we go. I'm back in the business where I'm the guy. I'm the trainer of the year. I said, but I caught myself right then. I said, okay, where are my trainers? Who am I going to get? Oh, look, another Marine. Come on, this is going to be fun. So I started bringing Marines on, okay, to train our boot camp style training. I had programs. I had built all this stuff out. It was really great. And I'm like, they're going to train. I'll be here, but they're going to train. I'm going to build a business. And that helped because I could go home when I wanted to. I wasn't teaching 7 classes a day. I go there at 5 a.m. I love the early stuff, get them started, pop back in and out, but let these guys really take the reins and run with this business, right? Take care of the customers while I built the business side. That was the beginning of it. That was like my test market, right? That's like, okay, this is the new way. How is this going to work? So with that, you got marketing, you got a lot of other little things that you have to do. And that was really good. I really enjoyed it. It was going well. And I'm like, I really like contracting and building. Maybe I'm going to do like a roofing, siding, window business because there's actually more money in that. So I am looking, I got to generate good income and everything else. And I did well with the gym. It wasn't bad, but so I took that on. I started that up, right? And started building that out. And that was great. That gave me a lot of experience, because I didn't have to be on the roof. I didn't have to do the roofing. You don't want me building stuff on your house. Okay. Unless I'm welding something together. Me and wood don't get along. Right. So it forced me to let's focus on business. Let's make this work. Let's get subcontractors. Let's see how we can build this business. So that was another level of challenge, but it did really well. And that's when the book started coming out and started helping other people. I'm like, wow, this is kind of a really great niche. And I kept seeing the patterns, talking to other business owners, all doing the same wrong things. All of them. It's like a template. Like start a business and then be trapped in 2 years because they work really hard the first 2 years to get it off the ground. Right? There's no way of getting around that. So they work. They wear 9 hats. They get all this work done. But then next you know, 10 years has gone by. You've repeated the first 2 years 5 times. Right? And you're stuck. And that's why you're not scaling. That's why you're not free. You're making some money, right? You got some money. You're kind of okay, but you're really not killing it. And you don't have any freedom. You're not making any real impact with your business either. You're just kind of doing it, right? So once I recognize that pattern, I'm like, now I have a new mission. Now I'm going to help these people create freedom, profit, and impact in their business. So my goal, my movement is to help 10,000 business owners create freedom, profit, and impact in their business. I'm going to show them the exact way to do this. Take them from where they're at right today. And I'm going to change that. And to me, John, that's going to not just affect them. That's going to be huge for them, but also the people on their teams. I show them how to make them better as people, not just competent workers. And all of them take this home to their families. Their families are in the communities, right? So that 10,000 can turn into millions of people that can be affected by doing this. So that became the big motivation for me to do it that way. So it's kind of a cool journey, but I'm really set on what I'm called to do right now. And I love it.
Yeah, so just listen to your story and all the things you're coming out with. It does sound like you've got a unique ability to evolve and pivot and change and just see gaps and places to improve. So is there specific things that you are seeing people are doing wrong on a regular basis? I know you mentioned about doing the same thing for the 2 years and just repeating that process, right. But is there any particular errors that you're seeing frequently in people you're coaching?
Oh, yeah. They don't have a plan. Their plan is to make money. Okay, that's not a plan. Because the easiest thing to do in business is make money. I mean, that's the easiest thing you can do, honestly. Like people think it, like, I don't think they think that way, but like selling something, making money is easy. It's everything else that's difficult. So what they do is they don't have a plan. They don't have any vision for their business. Well, where are you actually going with this? What's the outcome? Or to make it even simpler, what's your exit strategy? Have you thought about when this is over? Do you have a plan for it to be over? Do you actually think you're going to hand it down to your children? Because they probably want nothing to do with it because it's a hot mess. They don't want to come in. They're watching you work all the time. Never there, always on the phone going, you think they want that? Your kids don't want that. Okay. So the only way you're ever going to have your kids do a secession is going to be if that thing is dialed in and you have freedom, you spend time with them and they loved it. Then they'll go into the business. But so that's what I see. No exit strategy, which is huge because you really want to begin with that. That's where you want an exit strategy before you launch.
Yeah, you've talked a lot about strategies and things. I know very much you're definitely a doing type of person. Crack on, let's get this accomplished. And that sounds very much like a strategic thing you're thinking of and doing your policies and having your strategies. So how do you work on that, or do you get people in to help with that side of it? Because it seems like they're kind of at odds with each other, being strategic and operationally minded.
So what we begin with, so if they're in my coaching program, we begin with what's called strategic vision. We have to write the story. And the story is, it's basically the customer journey from the first call all the way through delivered product, service, whatever that is and beyond. But it's internal. So it's every step inside the business of how that works. It's not a marketing piece. You're not showing off people how you do things. But for the people on the team, anyone who comes on this, and this is 6-10 pages, mine's 14 pages for Sharpen Spear. It's 14 pages of stories, people, and it's woven in story form, and then details and all that stuff. So anyone who wants to come on the team has to read that first. Then I ask them, well, where do you see yourself fitting? I'm the warehouse manager. I love that. They go in this whole thing, So we want to write this out so it's really attractive to bring in the right people. Because people all say, yeah, I'm not working there. They'll tell you, thanks, I read it. Yeah, I'm not that. That's not what I'm looking for. Okay, excellent. You take care. And that's awesome. So it's a really good filter. Or if they don't read it at all and you jump on the phone and say, okay, did you read it? No, I didn't get a chance to. All right, you have a great day. And I hang up the phone. You already can't follow directions. You're not coming on the team, right? So, but the vision is, it's a future cast document, which means it's what you're going to accomplish in the next 18 to 24 months, right? It's not what you're doing now, because if it's what you're doing now, well, we got a problem, right? So we need to change that. But what we want to do, John, is get everyone on the team working towards a vision, fulfilling it. So they see exactly what they're supposed to be doing. And we create the hows and the whys and all that great stuff. So everyone is a hero in their part of the journey. That's what you show them in this, why they matter and why this doesn't work if you're not in that position, right? However significant or insignificant it may seem, it all matters. And once you build that, now you have direction. Now you understand, okay, well, to do that, I got to have systems. I have to have a process. I have to earn this much money. I have to do this. I got to hire this person. Tie that in with an exit strategy, which is how long, how much do I want to get out? How many years do I want to do this? What does that look like? Am I building passive income to replace my active business income so I don't lose $1 million a year when I sell the business? Because that's what I'm taking home. How do I keep that coming out by acquiring assets and everything else? So that's where we really begin, because once they understand their vision and their team does, everything falls into place. I mean, there's a lot of work to do still, right? But everyone knows where they're going, and that's critical. Because if I'm in New York and I want to go to California in my car, all I know is to go west. Okay. Now, the good news is I'm going to probably see all of America. Okay. Driving around, but I'm also going to probably end up at the Gulf of Mexico and think I'm at the Pacific, right? Because I don't know. So got to have the plan.
Yeah, but that's a really good insight. And I think exactly as you said, every single person is really important to what you're trying to achieve. And it's just making people understand that whatever role it is, that is without them, you couldn't achieve what you're wanting to achieve. I think it can be a bit too siloed and people not really understanding that mission, not being communicated well in businesses. It's really good to hear what you're doing in that respect.
Yeah. The critical thing too, you remember the old school is like mission statement. They put it on the
Yeah.
wall. We want satisfied customers. We want to be the best. Like, what garbage is that? That serves one person only. Actually serves one ego only. That's the owners. It's wallpaper. No one sees that. No one reads that. It means nothing. That's not going to inspire anyone under your employment or nothing. Take that off the wall and throw it away. But you keep coming back to the vision. It's not a one time. It's every week, every 2 weeks. You're saying, are we fulfilling the strategic vision? How is it going in this department? How's it going in this department? What do we need to do over here? Right. So everyone is always focused on that drive forward. And when you reach that point, you rewrite it, right? New vision. All right, 24 months, we did it. What's next? Now we know because stuff's in place. We've got results like, okay, now we can do this. So then you rewrite another one. So it's a great tool.
Yeah, it sounds like very much it's story focused within what you're doing and your business. How important do you think that storytelling is to get a buy-in from people?
They love it because it's people. It's like, oh, John used to work here for this sales company and he had to do this many calls a day and this. Now it's a remote position. He does this. It's easy. He's given the leads or they're warm leads. He easy to produce and close, and he's making six figures. All this stuff now right out of the chute. And they go, oh, but you hear his story and you hear the COO story and how they came there. The CMO, how they like, what's the difference where they were and where they're at? So you see that, then what they're doing, right? When they read that, they're like, wow. Like, I want that. To go from this horrible job I have to a place that loves to have me on. They respect me. They give me the feedback. They give me real purpose. Because that's the number one thing people want is purpose. Money is like third. Everyone wants to make money, but it's purpose. And then it's the feedback and the recognition. Then you can talk about money. People will take pay cuts to work at a place they love. And I'm not saying that's the strategy. I'm just saying sometimes I've seen it happen with my clients. People come there, they'll take $1 or $2 an hour hit because they want to be in that environment. They want to work with those kind of people and be respected like that.
That's it. It's building those connections, and it's exactly what you said: purpose and meaning, and just building those connections. Get people buy from people. So yeah, no, I think storytelling is absolutely essential now, especially with the rise of social media. So just touching on social media, obviously it's changed in the 30 years that you've been involved in business. How are you utilizing social media?
So I kind of swung two ways. I kind of was in it a lot, watching it a lot, probably watching more than doing, which is a problem. It's a pretty distractive tool. Okay. So I always tell my children, we have a phone. I go, this could be a tool or a toy. Because they get my phone again. I go, Dad, you don't have any games on your phone. I said, because Daddy don't play games. That's why. I go, and I don't. So they're not going to be on my phone, for anyone's use, right? I don't use it. It's a tool for me. But social media was like, it's good exposure, and there has to be strategy. There has to be method. It can't be just random. When you do random, there's no consistency, right? It's just random. I post something. And so I was consistent and I was not consistent. Then I'm like, I'm just getting rid of this altogether. Why am I messing with this? I want to talk to people face to face. Yeah. I have 5,000 phony friends. Okay. That's what I have. People, they don't give a rip about me. They're not coming to my rescue ever. Okay. They don't care what's going on in my life. I'm like this. So I had to turn it back into, that's a tool. Okay. And then if I do it right, I promote right, I load content, I do appearances and people see me. That's a long game. It's a very long game. There's not usually an instant ROI on that. So I had to swing back and forth, John, to figure out how does this really work, because my distaste for it. Okay. So it can cloud your business mind. The personal emotion about this thing is such a waste of time, and who cares and whatever. If I want to see my brother's kids, I'll go see them. I don't need Facebook for that or whatever, but you got to be smarter than that. You got to put the emotions in check and say, okay, what can this do for my business? Who's out there making a strategy for social media, whether it's content or whatever it is? I need to hire that person to do it, because I don't want to be loading things. I don't want to be looking. I really don't want to be responding. I really don't. I want to get them in a funnel where when they talk to me, it's deal time. right? They understand it's time to play the game. Okay. You took all the steps, like and trust, and we did all that neat stuff. But when it comes time to access Richard, it's game time. Okay. And things get real serious real fast. So I had to kind of develop that method.
Yeah, no, it's interesting, quite refreshing to hear a bit of a different take on it. Because I think there's so much focus on social media now. It's nice to hear actually you're still getting those connections without that focus on social media, and you can still do business without that being checking all your resources out. It's quite refreshing to hear that.
Yeah. It just, again, is focus, right? You can make anything work if you focus on it. The problem is they treat that as a side thing. I'll throw something on social media, everyone's going to see it, and just the mind space it takes to understand. You post one thing, well, that's at 7:30 in the morning, and then 9 o'clock, no one's seen that. You got to do it again, and then you're 2 in the afternoon. It's another time. Oh, you're in Australia and you want to see my stuff? That's a whole different time. You didn't see any. So, like, oh my gosh, try to manage that. That's why you need to get a pro or some way to because you just need constant exposure. That's the battle against obscurity. People have to just know you. But I think, well, I posted it once. That's enough. I don't want to bore people. I don't want to inundate them, but you're not, and wrapping your head around all that. Oh man, it's like you need to take like a year of, social media exposure or something. I don't know. It's a challenge.
Yeah, and it is just focus your time where it's best spent. And if it's not best spent for you on social media, then do what you do best. And right. Delegate. So no, that's great. What I did want to ask you about, just you've got a vast array of accomplishments. How do you personally continue to challenge yourself and grow both personally and professionally? What do you do to keep that learning and knowledge building?
So I've got a thing I tell people, people I work with, people I mentor, young guys, older guys, whatever. I said, it's called just do hard things. You have to do hard things. And it doesn't mean you have to go, well, you could climb Mount Everest. That's all good too. But in your daily life, there's a comfort level that we all get into regardless of our level of achievement. It's always what we battle. Now, there's a place for comfort. There's nothing wrong with that. We don't need to suffer day in, day out, every moment of the day, right? But we need to understand we need to go something that challenges us. So what does that look like? Is that run a marathon? Is that climb a mountain? Is it train for a obstacle course race, right? A Tough Mudder or a Spartan race or something like that. Or I'm going to be an endurance runner. I'm going to do a 50 mile. I'm going to do a 100 mile, try to do that in a day. I'm going to do the Frozen Otter. We're in Wisconsin where it's 20 below and third weekend in January and you got to go 64 miles in 24 hours or else you don't, 2% of the people finish that. You do that. Okay. That's doing hard things. Right. And the reason it's not a distraction, it fortifies you. It fortifies you for business because business is, it's war. It's an endless war. You're battling every day. There's always new stuff coming at you, being shot at you, right? Literally, like the stuff that keeps coming and coming and coming. And the stronger you are on the side like that, as you build doing hard things, business is just what you do. And it's easily because you've done way harder things than that, right? And the other thing I do on top of that is I read books on people who have done incredibly difficult things. Ernest Shackleton, The Endurance. Stuck on the Arctic ice 2 years, brings 28, every guy home alive, right? Read that, read Touching the Void, read these things where these people go through these, and you're like, I'm crying about this.
Yeah.
Just like, this is nothing. This is nothing. So you need to reinforce yourself. And I think that staying out there doing the hard things is where it happens.
Being quite a focused person, I can imagine you'll have an answer ready for this, but in terms of what legacy you hope to leave behind, have you got anything in mind? I know you said about helping, you can help one individual and then that affects their family and their friends, but is there a particular legacy that you've got in mind you want to leave behind?
Yeah, it's actually my children. So I have 6 children. That's my legacy. Business is great. I get it. And I hope I want to reach that 10,000 people and help them. That's all really great. But it's the children I've poured into for 20 years. Homeschooling, bringing the character, my biblical worldview, and everything else I've poured into them so that they can do great things with balance and character and all the right things. Their faith is super strong. That's my legacy.
Yeah.
grandkids and on from there. That's all that really matters to me. Business matters to me, right? But
Yeah.
if I had to pick or choose, it's the family.
Yeah, and I'm sure that's kind of reinforced after losing your business. And like I say, it's those things where you need that money to support your family, but ultimately it is all about the family and about having those people close to you. So just in terms of the business goals, so how do you envisage the future of Sharpen Spear Coaching? Have you got long-term goals for your company?
Well, yes, I have a strategic vision.
Mm.
I wrote my own, right? It's 14 pages long, John. It's 14 pages long. It actually took me, and I know how to do this, right? Because I teach everybody else. It took me 14 hours of work to write my strategic vision for Sharpen the Spear. Yeah, so we want to reach that 10,000 goal, and not in 30 years, but in less than 10. We want to reach those 10,000 business owners. I have a headquarters here. I've kind of laid out everything I want to do, but really is to build. So I'll probably have between 100 and 150 coaches working for us. I want to scale that. I do want to actually hand that over. I do have an exit strategy on that as well, because I'm not, as the saying goes, I'm not getting younger, right? I'm still having tons of life. I'm never retiring. I don't have any plan on retiring, but I've built my own exit into this, right? As in I bring the people underneath me, each position I move up and out of, whether it's CEO, COO, CEO, founder, then I'm poof, goodbye. Okay. So it's like everything's running, but I do want it to continue and do great things and continue to help people. And there's always the beauty of today, especially with technology and everything else. It's hard to look past 5 years, right? Because so much changes, new tools, new restrictions, new regulations, the world shifting before our eyes every day at a rate it never has before. So I stick to a max 5 year, right? I understand where I'd like to go, but that's kind of in the fantasy category. So I know where I want to go, but we're going to take it a few years at a time, and then we'll keep revamping the vision, and we'll see where it actually goes. So I have the general idea, but I think that pretty much sums it up.
Fantastic. I think there's just a couple of things I wanted to ask you about before we do come to a close. And one of them is we do cater to a lot of aspiring entrepreneurs or people who are leading their own business, but particularly thinking about people who are starting their journey. Is there any key advice you'd give to aspiring entrepreneurs who are just starting their journey?
Yeah, if you're first, there's so many things. Again, we talk about exit strategy briefly. Okay, we go in detail. Think about that before you launch. Make a plan. Okay, just make a plan. I actually have a full online business startup course. Okay, they go to sharpenspearcoaching.com. You can go on there, you can get that. It's intense. But if you complete it, you'll have exponential probability of success. There's so many elements to a business. Now, ignorance on fire, I like that, right? I'm like just starting, I'm going to sell something, make a product. You need that too. But you really need, and I don't mean the perfect plan. Like I teach 1-page business plan. I don't want a book. I don't want 37 pages. I don't need Harvard to review it. I don't need any of that kind of stuff, right? I need the generals on that, where we're going. And then I want to start working and I want to sell. So again, plan as much as you possibly can without getting paralyzed, paralysis by analysis. Don't get stuck in that. Imperfect action is your key to success. Don't wait for anything, because it's never going to be perfect. Imperfect action, run with that mindset. Do it, fix it on the fly. Do it, fix it on the fly. Get feedback, fix it, keep going, keep pushing, keep making gains, keep making sales. Fuel that economic engine with the money, right, that you're making from that, and keep staying focused on fixing it. And the exit strategy is going to teach you how to exit your business, even on the daily, right? How you're going to put people in place, build your systems so you can get that freedom. You don't get the freedom after you exit. That's like this bizarre retirement plan. Like I want freedom while I'm doing all this, right? I want to make money and be free, right? I want to go where I want to go when I want to go. So I hope that was helpful.
Yeah, it's great.
I kind of swerved a little bit through this.
But no, I think it is great advice. And I think if people wait for perfection before they start, they're just never going to get it off the ground. Yeah. You're not going to get started. So no, I think that's great advice. And one other thing that I think might be very useful for everyone listening already is, I know there's concept of time compression. Can you just explain time compression a little bit for us?
Yeah. So here it is. Like my first 20 years in business, I did not accept help. I didn't look for help. I'm a jarhead. I'm a Marine. I'm going to do it myself. I took twice as long, twice as hard. I succeeded, kind of, right? Then everything collapsed because so I didn't do. And I had multi-billionaire clients. Okay. Like big hitters, big hitters telling me things. Hey, you should do this. Hey, okay. Well, what do you know? You don't build water features. I'm the guy. So time compression comes from asking for help. And what I do, like you work with me for a year, I will save you 10 years of costly mistakes, bad decisions, wrong turns, all that kind of stuff. And you'll reach success much sooner and you'll be much happier because the plan is going to be like, this is how it should be, right? I don't want you getting stuck in those patterns we talked about that everybody else gets stuck in. Time compression, that's from getting a mastermind, get a mentor, get a coach, whatever that looks like. Do not wait on that. Sacrifice now to get that person in your life. Focus on what you're doing, and it'll be the best money or whatever time you've ever spent, because that's where it's at.
And who doesn't want time compression? But yeah, sounds like a great concept.
Yes.
And like I say, mentors, all those people, it's just soak up that knowledge, make the most of it. So yeah, no, that's great. I think we are going to come to the end in just a second. What I did want to leave you with really is just any final pieces of wisdom or anything you'd like to share. And what we want to do is know how we can connect with yourself and where to find you.
Right. Awesome. I have a quote that I learned like 25 years ago, maybe longer. And I memorized, like I first read in the book, is in a book called Outdoor Athlete by a guy named Steve Ilg, ILG. And I think it's his quote because he didn't have anonymous. He didn't to anyone, but there it was. I'm like, man, that's brilliant. I'm just going to share it with you. And it goes back to resilience and grit and all that stuff, right? It's called dedication to a goal that never wavers, resolution. This is the basic principle in the life of every truly great character. He who resolves upon any great and good end has, by that very resolution, clothed himself in power and has scaled the chief barrier to it. Like, take that. I stenciled it on my gym walls. Like it's on the wall. Like it's all about that. It's all about the commitment. Like you're starting your business, you commit. Don't make it a hobby. You commit and you go until you succeed. So that's kind of a big thing I'll leave with you. Get a hold of me, sharpenthespearcoaching.com would be the best way to do that, sharpenthespearcoaching.com. And let me do this for your audience, John. Since they're here, they spent this time with us. I got the book, Escape the Owner Prison. If they go to sharpenthespearcoaching.com, go to the contact page, send me a 1-sentence email. Said, hey, I saw you on John's show. I'd love to get the free audio version of your book, Escape the Owner Prison, and I will send it right to them. That's all I have to do. Okay.
That's fantastic offer. So yeah, thank you very much. And I think
you're welcome.
You definitely demonstrated all the things you've been talking to us about, just the power of resilience, strategic thinking, and certainly I can see the pursuit of excellence in everything you're doing. So yeah, really good to have you on the show. Thank you very much for your time, and I really hope the audience has enjoyed it and taken away as much as I will from it. So thanks for being on with me.
I loved it. Thank you so much for having me.
Cheers. Thank you.